Hello, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Saturday evening session of the CEO Story. I'm Vatsala Singh, co-hosting with Smriti. I am the PGPMAX cohort of 2024, and it's my pleasure to be co-hosting this evening session here and welcoming all of you. So let me just give a brief about today's session. Today's session, we are introducing some PGPMAX cohorts of the past years, and it's my pleasure to welcome all of you here. So the audience include the prospective students, the incoming students, and the applicants for the PGPMAX, who would really gain by the experiences of our past cohorts. While beginning the session, I would really like you to just be tolerant about my inexperience in hosting these sessions. Smriti is under the weather, so I'm co-hosting with her. So, but yeah, it is a learning experience for me and a great pleasure. So I would request everyone to address their queries in the Q&A box, and we'll take up their queries at the end of the session. And I would request everyone to limit their queries and questions to the panelist only, questions related to the panelist. Anything related to the admissions, they can share that with the admission department later on, and that will be addressed separately. So with that, I would like to begin today's session by welcoming the panelists again. We have three panelists with us. Mr. Arup Ray, who's presently the Global Head of Digital Architecture Signify. He is from the PGPMAX cohort 2013. Welcome, Arup. The next panelist is Manish Chopre. I hope I'm pronouncing your surname correctly. And he's working as the Executive Director of PwC. He's from the PGPMAX cohort 2020. Our third panelist is Shelja Shivaraman, who's working as the Managing Director, Lead Industry Platforms. And she's the cohort, PGPMAX cohort of 2022. I would like to welcome all of you here. And to open our session and to begin our session, I would like all of you to just give us a brief about your professional journey. All of us would really benefit from your professional journey and your experiences. So in that, may I request Arup to please share something about your professional journey?
Thank you, Vatsala. Hi, everyone. And I was in your seat a few years back, looking forward to PGPMAX as a part to kind of career growth. But let me, with a brief introduction, I'll keep it brief only. So I worked in the industry for almost 27 years now, and I used to manage SAP I was part of SAP before when I actually did this PGPMAX in 2013, used to run supply chain practice and then analytics practice. Then later I moved to Cognizant, where I used to head the global SAP pre-sales as well as innovations, along with something called one platform called Neuron that we created there. Recently, I joined Signify. Signify is, you may not be familiar with the name. It was earlier called Philips Lighting. So they rebranded 5 years back. And I take care of the global digital architecture and some of the digital projects that is going on. It's a major digital transformation they're going through, including IoT and other stuff. So that's the part kind of my career. And I also very passionate about diversity and inclusion. And I used to run diversity inclusion in SAP as my another additional cap that I had on top of that. Here also Signify I play certain roles in that initiative. Thank you, Vatsala.
Thank you, Arup. That's very, very interesting, and we would like to know more about it. Next, I would like to request Manish to please share a little bit about your professional journey.
Okay, thanks, Vatsala, hi everyone. Manish Chapade. I am with PwC for the last five years now. Um, I come from a technology background. A lot of work in the European market for about 12 years before I moved over to India back in 2014. Uh, in fact, that was also the time when I thought of, you know, uh, doing some kind of a course in India, to understand the Indian market, I would say. And I wanted to start a career in India because I felt that was probably more strategic uh, for me to come down to India and play my second inning in my professional career to grow in India. That was my intention. And before I could, start uh, interacting uh, my with and build my network in India, I thought I just need to find an organization that could act as a pivotal platform, I would say, in order to make that happen, right? So I guess there was nothing better than ISB and PGPMAX after my due diligence that I did across so many other courses. And hence I ended up doing the PGPMAX course. I'm happy to talk about my experience in more detail. Apart from that, I come, as I said, I come from technology background, so I would probably consider myself more as a specialist, domain expert with a lot of technology insights, and I really wanted to expand myself and become a bit more outward looking in terms of the sectors, the business, rather than just the competency, and how I would be able to apply technology as an enabler and as a lever for innovation in order to try and solve business problems. And again, that was another reason why I chose to do MBA, I would say, right? So happy to discuss about that in more detail.
I think it is all about us getting out of our comfort zones and trying something more than what we already are doing. So we are eager to hear from you, Shelja, about your professional journey.
Coincidentally, I also come from technology background. So being in the industry for 26 years now, the first few years of my, kind of career was working with the bank. So mainly I come from a financial services background while working in the technology. So that's how I begin my career. And then slowly, as you rightly said, Vatsala, it's about getting out of my comfort zone. So I did think that at some part of my career, I need to now start exploring various other options. I joined a consulting company. And this consulting company was Capco, completely specialized on capital markets. And that's what my area of specialization was. And it was a very different experience for me, where coming from a very guarded environment in a bank to just going all out and then being in front of the clients and then kind of selling to delivering things. It was a totally different experience for me, and I learned a lot. It was more of an entrepreneurship that I gathered from Capco. From there, I joined Accenture. It's been 13 years since I'm in Accenture. I lead global modern engineering. Contrary to I saw the title. So that title is almost like erstwhile 7 years ago is when I was leading all the industry platform. Of course, I've done various roles in Accenture. It's vast, and then Accenture as an organization has given me enormous opportunities. I did a lot of stint in terms of leading a whole lot of industry solutions in Accenture across all the industries, while focused on financial services as well. Today, I lead the entire modern engineering globally across the market, sitting based out of Bangalore. Of course, traveling a lot extensively across the globe and learning from each of the organizations that I interact with. Right. So that's a brief background about me.
Thank you, Shelja. It's wonderful hearing from all of you, your diverse backgrounds and your experiences and how you all are progressing in your profession. I come from the education field. For me also, ISB, joining ISB was, the main reason was the diversity and that inclusion, and the non-judgmental atmosphere over there. From every field, people can find their reason, their growth, their learning over there. So I would just also like to know, all of us have our own reasons, our own particular personal, professional reasons for opting for the PGPMAX. May I ask you, Arup, what was the reason for pursuing this program? And how did your life change after graduating from the PGPMAX? Please unmute yourself, Arup. Yeah, thank you.
So this shows I'm getting old. So I, so I forgot to unmute while talking. So Vatsala, yes, that's a very good question. And I think many of us actually go through that dilemma at the middle of the career, right? So I was moving from a role in the 2012-13 when you're talking about, I was moving from a role which is a more of individual consultant or individual contributor to getting into a leadership role. So I was managing supply chain practice, and then I was taking the global analytics practice. Now, as part of this, there is a technology. There is a technology component, but there are also things comes up that how do you define the strategy for growth for the next 5 years for my practice? How it aligns with the overall SAP's product strategy, how you take care of the innovation, how you take care of the financial aspect of the practice, because it was almost like your profit and loss account, that profit and loss kind of P&L account. That's what we had to handle. So coming from a technical background and then moving into this direction, I started finding quite a few gaps that I felt this will help if I go for this kind of program. And to be very honest, this helped me quite a bit. And we'll talk a little bit more about this. It is not only about the curriculum, also learning from the peers, because I had colleagues from all over the places, like who somebody CFO, somebody is CIO, while somebody is actually the head of supply chain marketing. So it was an amazing experience that we had during that point of time. It's not only theoretical discussion with the peers and learning from them. And when I came back, actually after finish that whole program, uh, I started seeing the reflection of that what I learned, and I started applying those in the business context. And I could see a much bigger picture than being just a technical guy looking into the technical solution and product solutions, that kind of stuff. So that's a probably I can talk for hours on that. What was the impact? But briefly, this is what we gained from there.
I can very well understand, Arup, because you've just been one term over there, and so many things I echo, the cohorts are excellent. The atmosphere, the learning atmosphere is wonderful over there. And the professors, there's so much to learn. And the joy in learning over there is there, that beautiful atmosphere. And there's so much to learn. Right. Shelja, may I request you to share your views of why you pursued the PGPMAX?
Yeah, I mean, so in my career, I kind of was always kind of taking risk and then getting out of my comfort zone every time I felt I'm too comfortable in this particular role. That gave me a lot of learning, but then my learning was always on the job, or looking at my peer group or my subordinate. So I always am open for learning, from anybody and everybody. I did thrive about that, but then there came a point of time where I thought, if I need to really really step up and scale up to actually start running a very strategical role at a global scale for an organization like Accenture, I felt that there's something missing. When I looked around, when I was looking up to a lot of my mentors, and I started to look at, how do they actually deal with certain things, and then their decision making ability, I did find that there was a difference. They all came from prestigious institutes, and they all had done their MBA. That was one inspiration for me. And many of my mentors also encouraged me to say that, okay, it's better late than never, right? So you go ahead. And I have always been wanting to do MBA. It's just that, the laziness in me kind of pushed it for years, and then there's always a sense of, okay, I'm doing well in my job. Do I really need to go to a school to learn? I'm learning enough, kind of a view, right? That you cultivate at certain point of time of your career. So that was a mode I was in, and then I did decide that it's now time that I need to get in. Perhaps I have inside out view, but then I need to bring in outside in view. I need to connect the dots, very similar to what Arup was telling. It was all about the various functions of an organization, right? So I really wanted to have that holistic view to understand how do we need to actually really operate at that scale, at that level. So that was the reason why I got into this program. Yeah. So I did a lot of my own research, which organizations I need to go to, including the ones that were outside India. But then I zeroed in on ISB because I had some of my friends who had done from ISB. I had seen the change in their career path, as well as them as professionals, as well as person, right? So many of these inspirational events kind of led me to enroll into ISB.
Thank you, Shailja, and we are eager to hear from you, Manish. What was your inspiration?
Yeah, on similar lines, what you just heard. But what I would say is, I guess there's a need for everyone. I would say, because the journey could be slightly different for everyone. There is a need for everyone to do a bit of a self-assessment, just to identify what is it that they really want to do. What is the gap, right? What is it that they want to get out of this sort of programs, right? For me, I think it was more about, as I said, I come from a technology world. I understand technology in and out. Um, and every time when I go to the client, and if I hear a problem, right, a business problem, my mind would just go back to my comfort zone, saying that, okay, this is what I know, and this is how I'm going to solve the problem. But hey, there are so many different ways of solving the problem, right? Just because I know a particular way of doing that doesn't mean that that's the best way, right? There are different ways of doing that, and there are much more effective ways of doing it, right? And this wider perspective, I thought, is probably something which is not natural at that stage, and obviously, and rightly so, I would say, because you would have spent like 10 years, 15 years doing the same thing for a smaller client, larger client, again and again. So it became more repetitive, I would say, leading to a lot of SME knowledge. And then, you also started leading a lot of teams, people management and all of that stuff, right? So SME and people management. But then I thought that if I want to, go on to the next orbit or the next league, whatever it is very important for me to get a hold on the P&L, understand the finances, understand how do we build relationship. Because at the end of the day, if I'm playing a role as a partner, it's for me to go out there in the market, build a relationship out there, identify opportunities, and then eventually use my old knowledge as a SME to see how I can try and solve the problem for the client. Also, collaborate with other people from different spheres of life with different experiences, I would say, and see how do we bring all of it together for the clients in order to solve a business problem, right? So I think that's what I thought as part of my assessment is something which I was not in a position to do before I did my PGPMAX. And after PGPMAX, I guess through the cohort, which is part of 2018, 2019, plus the wider aluminum group, I thought I have a better connect, especially in the Indian market. I would say in the public sector, in the private sector also, in order for me to try and get the connects through which I can at least get the first meetings. I would say I guess that's a very powerful thing to happen, I would say. Along with that, I guess finance as an area, which I wouldn't claim was my expertise before I got into MBA. I guess now I am able to at least strike a intelligent conversation and ensure that if it comes down to the top line and bottom line, what is it in my favor, right? I think that at least that knowledge I have, and I know how to reach out to the right people to make that happen also, right? So I guess those are some of the reasons why I thought of doing a course similar to MBA, which is executive MBA. And then as I said, I did my due diligence, and I thought doing it from PGPMAX perhaps would be the right thing to do. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Manish. I really echo with all of yours thoughts and opinion, because I've worked as the principal and director of the school. And for me also, like wanted to grow, wanted to do something more on a larger scale. So you do need certain education, certain preparation for that, that need, it kept on, it was, that was coming from within. And now when I'm part of the PGPMAX, I realize, there are so many skills which are the basic necessary skills which we did not have earlier, and now we are beginning to acquire. And when we reflect on our journey in the past, we realize that if we had these skills, addressing a problem would have been better. The approach would have been better, because we deal with so many diverse stakeholders. And in school, I'm sure in business also, every day there is a new challenge, new problem. In school also, every day is a new day. It's a new challenge. So I do feel, that PGPMAX is starting to empower me in so many ways, not only for the field that I have experience with, but in any other field that I would like to venture out. So I would also now like to know from you the two most important things that you learn from the PGPMAX that is helping you in your career now after completing your MBA. I would begin with Shelja.
So there are many things. So you're asking me two most important things. So the one is, I think both Manish and Arul were talking about. Bringing the finance, operations, and strategy together, balancing the three most important things for an organization is the biggest, learning for me. Similar to what Manish was telling, while I came from financial services, I understood the numbers, I understood a whole lot of things. Just elevating yourself to understand the company's health, understand the decision making, or bringing on to the decision making ability there, whether it is about which is the new business areas, whether you're going to go and then invest in acquiring organizations, and what's the outcome of those, to how do you actually efficiently manage your operations to ensure that the health of the organization works very well. I think that was my biggest learning, bringing in all those aspects of, the CEO, CIO, and COO together, right? So the second most takeaway was, again, I came from technology background. So obviously, when you're in technology background, you're always interacting with technology folks wherever we are. I mean, I'm sure every one of us have been super busy going all around the globe. Then what really happens when you join PGPMAX is the industry, reach just explodes. You kind of start meeting different sets of people. You start understanding the industry much better than what you did. I said I was industry lead for certain areas. I was drawing up industry solutions, but then, here you're sitting together to understand what happens on the ground, on the job, right? So these two were two biggest learnings for me, and there are many more. If I have to keep talking about it, it will go on. Yeah.
Thank you, Shelja. Now we move on to Arup. Arup, would you share your two major takeaways?
Yes, the challenge is to kind of select the top two. I'm actually Shaileja is saying the same thing. There are a lot of takeaways, but I'll probably the two things I actually impacted me as well as some of my classmates. One of the things is that when you're doing the leadership course, especially part of this, we still remember there's something we started realizing, that defining the North Star, and why you are there and why you want to actually move into the career, and that helps you to kind of guide through your career. So before that, it was just moving to the next level. But then as we take step back, it has basically helped us to define our North Star, and that helped us to take a lot of career decision. In fact, some of my classmates like Bindu, she left a corporate job and started an NGO, because that was her North Star. And there are few more people has changed their career. So that is the one part. Second part is, again, coming back to what Shailaja and Manish was also indicating, is to seeing it is from the business perspective, not just as a technocrat, right? So that perspective kind of, I just taking examples. Right now, one of my role is also to define the our way forward in Gen AI, right? Generative AI. So today, I actually don't look at it just as a technology perspective. I see that how it is going to impact the business. What is the financial implication for the company if we go for this? So that kind of perspective actually comes only because I went through that your 16 months of all the kind of grilling and all this stuff, and interacting with the professors, interacting with the our peers. So that helped me to quite a bit to kind of look at from the 360 perspective view. And when you become a leader, you take a leadership role. It's not only about where you are good at. You have to look at from the multiple angle. So I'll say, so Elijah, these are the Basala, these are the two things probably the topmost takeaway for me.
Thank you, Arup. Very, very interesting. And I think so all of us agree with that. And Manish, I would like to hear from you, your takeaways.
Yeah. So I would just contribute to the list, which is already mentioned. I don't want to repeat the same thing. But what I would say is, I guess the biggest learning, would be you end up having this sense of maturity in your mind, which sort of gives you a wisdom in terms of a better decision making, if I may say, right? So the quality of your decision making across everything, right? Across the spheres of life, whether it is on your personal front, whether it is your daughter's education, or whether it is, for example, I'm doing a 60-country rollout, and a multi-million-dollar decision, right? How do we get that right? So there is, I guess, the sense of decision making becomes slightly much more matured, more inclusive, I would say, right? Taking a lot of different dimensions to it, rather than just maybe a way of thinking about it. So I guess that certainly has happened to me, I would say. And there is a bit of acceptability in my mind, at least, that I will not be able to do everything, right? I need help, right? Earlier on, probably I was very ambitious, and I mean, I'm not saying I'm not ambitious anymore, but at least I'm open for help. I'm open for support. Earlier, I thought probably I'll get it done myself, right? It doesn't happen, right? So I guess that's one of the biggest learning, as part when I see others, that, hey, there are other people who have spent like 15 years, 10 years in the industry. Those guys are better than me in a certain area, right? There's no point trying to reinvent the wheel. What is more important is, how do I build a network? How do I understand that I need to, call upon this particular guy when I need help, when it is about, GST or indirect tax, whether it is a client who's talking about startup, right? Or a major client which I'm working with across multinational client, across presence across 60 countries, which is much more settled ways of working are sorted out. But the only thing missing there is maybe the energy, right? So when I ensure that I've forced myself to go and participate during my PGPMAX, where I'm out of my comfort zone, right? So probably there is some discussion going on for the startups, and I really like the energy level there, right? So how do I just understand the culture of a startup, and how do I then cross-pollinate that across to a major multinational, right? Where they have all the budgets, they have all the ways of working, but it's very difficult to make things happen in a very accelerated manner, right? So I guess, rather than just the technology angle of it, how do we understand and bring in the energy as such, right? To ensure at the end of the day, the change is enabled out there, right? So I guess you sort of get an opportunity as part of your cohort, as part of the platform that ISB provides for you to experiment that out, because there is no one watching, you just remove all the burden, go and talk to others. There's nothing on stake, right? Even if you get it wrong, there's no money on stake out there. Of course, it's our money, but at least not the client's money or the organization's money, right? So you can always experiment. And I guess that journey of experimentation, going through all those projects together, I'm trying to make best of that. It actually creates new connections in your mind, right? And I guess that's what you really carry back, right? That gives you a different level of confidence. It just gives you sort of a blueprint when you're talking to a new client, a new uncertain area, which is quite chaotic, to go there and at least make your presence felt, bring in some right information, structure a discussion, and then take it forward from there, I guess. So in that way, you tend to go, start demonstrating your leadership skills, I guess. So I guess that's one or two things which I certainly felt, which I took away from this particular course. Yeah.
Thank you, Manish. I totally agree. The good decision making, a wise decision making needs to be very well informed, very well informed about all aspects that are going to affect the decision and the people that are going to be affected. And I think so for every leader to learn how to delegate the right job to the right people. I think that's one of the most important aspects of our rules. And the onus of making the right decision, the effective, the right, wise decision for the long term, taking care of all the conditions and the necessary circumstances. Well, thank you so much for sharing your views. They were really insightful. Now, all the aspirants who are aspiring to PGPMAX, one question that is the most prominent one for everyone. It's a very expensive program. So we would like to know from you, what was your return on investment from this program? Do you think the investment of this expensive program? I would begin with you, Manish. You don't.
Yeah. So that's a really everyone needs to think about that. I totally agree with that, and there is no need to shy away from this discussion, because even if we don't have it in the public, at least you have it with yourself in your mind, with your higher self in your mind, just to try and understand, why am I doing this, right? I can really go and buy maybe a flat out there, right? Or invest it somewhere and then get some return out of it, right? So all of those things will keep happening in your mind. But if you really want to, I guess what is more important is, we still have like 15 years, 10 years to go in your career, right? And you are at a junction where you need to have some sort of a new turbo engine assigned to you, right? So that you can take your career to the next level over the course of next, I don't know, 10 years, for someone 15 years, or maybe 5 years also. It doesn't matter, right? So what I feel is, there's the investment is can be looked upon not as an immediate return in like 1 year. I just feel that someone who is wanting to do this sort of course and wanting to do this kind of investment has to keep a perspective of at least uh, 3 to 5 years as a bare minimum. I would say this is not something. This is not a near-term kind of a thing, right? I'm not saying you won't start getting the benefits in the near term. That is not what I would want to advocate here. But I'm just saying that in order to get the best return, or what you would invest in terms of the capital investment that you make, and also the learning that you get out of it, the return over that would probably come over the course of 3 to 5 years, is what my feeling is. In terms of the cost of this particular investment, right, whatever it is, 50 lakhs or in that range. Now, when I did my due diligence, to be honest with you, I felt that this is probably the most cost-effective course out there for what they were offering, right? If you do a peer comparison, like to like, with some of the other international courses, right? Whether it is the London Business School um, or the other ones, right? I just felt that this was probably the most cost-effective one, right? In terms of what they were offering, right? Of course, there are other courses who'd offer you something else, but that's probably just going to be an online platform. But for for what the way the course has been structured, the kind of involvement you would have, engagement that you have, right? Um, and and also the topics and the content that is covered across, right? I think it's a lot, right? It is pretty much what you would do for a full-time MBA, is what I gather, pretty much, I would say, right? Considering what you get in terms of return over the course of 12 months, what they are charging you, and also for the brand and all of other things, I just feel that it's not on the higher side. Probably this is the lowest, because one can think whatever comes to their mind, but in terms of the options which are available in the marketplace, whether it is in India or outside India, if you do a comparison, probably this is on the southern side of the pole rather than on the northern side of the pole, I feel, right? In terms of what you invest immediately, right? But that's more on the cost side. But in terms of the benefit side, I would say over a course of 3 to 5 years, you will certainly start seeing the benefits play out. Only thing is the benefits will not be the way you would anticipate it, right? That this suddenly, Brahman se koi paisa aa jayega. It's not like that, right? This is more subtle benefits, maybe more of non-tangible benefits, right? Uh, um, in terms of how do you progress in your career, right? All of those things on a daily basis would change for you, and uh, collectively things will the what you would probably achieve without this course over a period of 10 years, you would probably achieve the same outcome, I would say, in around 5 years, right? I guess that's the net time saving, and therefore the effort and the costs associated with that would also be saved, right? So for sure, I think this is something which will benefit you over a course of 3 to 5 years. Some of the other roles probably that you would always want to do, say for example, you want to become a CEO, you want to do your own startup or something else which is beyond your own comfort zone, which you have been always doing for the last 10, 15 years, you could only fantasize or imagine about that. But once you are into this course, all of those things start manifesting, right? Whether you do it or not, it's a conscious choice because you start doing calculating your opportunity cost. So if you're not doing that, at least you would have thought about it in your mind and you have a blueprint of doing that. And you have said that I don't want to do this because there are better things to do, right? So all of those analysis you would then be in a position to do and still be at the end of the day happy with what you're doing, I would say, right? So I think that's where I would like to leave it. Yeah.
Thank you, Manish. It is going to give us a lot of clarity to all the aspirants, Arup, we would like to hear from you, your opinion about.
Sure. So I think Manish already covered quite one dimension of what typically we look when we get into an MBA program, we start looking into, right? But there are few things that we always miss, which is intangibles. So where do you get an opportunity to learn from the probably world's topmost professors are coming from Wharton's, Kellogg's of the world, right? And then your classmates are the CFOs, CEOs of the different companies. So it is such a great learning, and it actually what Manish was saying is a very right thing. It helps you to kind of start thinking beyond your comfort level and you start beyond your limit, and you start imagining new things that this is I can also do this thing. And I've seen many of my classmates has done this. So that is one part. Second, ROI is actually you get a network which is a very top-notch in the network in the industry, and not only India, you'll see people coming from outside of India as well, and not only from your batchmate, it will be your seniors, your juniors. So you get a huge network of some of the top-notch people in the industry or different industry sector, and that helps a lot of way. Many times, for example, if I have certain things, I can call one of my classmates saying that, can you guide me what you did do, say for example in marketing, which is not my area. So those kind of things are there. The other element what actually for me was the biggest ROI, which I'll talk about, is that it helped me to kind of rethink my career and see that what I really like to do and which way I like to go forward, right? It's not that just take a next jump or the next level, which was easy to do, but is it something that I like to do? So that kind of clarity comes when you actually talk to the people, learn from the professor. So this is the intangible benefits, the ROI that you get from this. And I agree with Manish. Doing this course, after that you get into the career, you start looking into career in a different way, and you'll get a very happy at the end that what you're doing is the right thing or not, right?
Thank you, Arup. I do agree, it has a value beyond the monetary value, And Shelja, we would like to hear your views on this. Thank you.
Not going to be any different. The fact that all the three of us are passionately talking about this program, and especially Arup, who did it long, long ago, and then he's still passionately talking about it and bringing his own experiences in his career decisions, is just a testimony, right, of the ROI. So I totally agree with both of them in terms of the clarity that you get in the decision-making ability of your own career, where you want to actually take it to, what do you want to do, is the biggest ROI, I would say. In my view, you do the course. It's not, it's mind you, it is a senior exec course. It's not a, just an executive education where you just come in and then you say, tomorrow I apply and then I get a C-suite job. That's not the intention here at all, right? The intention has to be about coming and then learning. learning from the best of the professors that ISB brings in from all over the globe. And then the second thing is about learning from your own cohort, who come from real diverse background, the C-suites, some of them are in the senior positions. And then your own learning with all this combined, right? And all that immediately, kind of builds a foundational platform for you to start elevating yourself, in my view. And then after that is the wave of exponential growth. I've completed it just 6 months ago, but I can already see the seeds of written in my own career, in my own job. That's because the way you're going to actually really start going all out, make certain decisions about where you want to take your career to, all changes very, very to your own benefit, right? You're at peace. When you're at peace, you make right decisions. And when you make right decision, it only further encourages you to actually take on more, right? And that is a rippling effect. That's what I see in this course. That's the ROI, right? Monetary, I always believe, focus on learning, focus on taking higher risk, and money follows you. And this program certainly helps you to be that, helps you to get there.
Thank you, Shelja. I'm quite early on in this program, but all these feelings do resonate with me. The cohort is diverse, really rich experience, and everyone is eager to learn from each other, to help each other learn. And, there are so many things that we absolutely, for me personally, I would say, there's certain subjects who are starting from zero with it. But the feeling that you have because of the excellent professors and the support system over there is that you can do it. The very first year only, I think so, I felt a little apprehensive, speaking from my own experience, that, where have I landed and whether I'm doing the right thing in taking this kind of step. But I think so, first lesson, and with the professors and everyone around me, I was really happy that I took this step. I came over there, and it has been a wonderful learning experience, and I've learned so much. And there is the joy of learning something new. When you are learning, when you're in a program, when you're a student, no matter what age you are, that the excitement of learning something new, the excitement of being a student, challenges, the deadlines every day, the project deadlines, and how do you manage that, and also manage to have fun with each other, bond with each other, connect with each other. This, I think, is the meaning. Of course, the monetary investment is there, but the value and meaning beyond this monetary, I think so, is much, much greater. And like all three of you said, how we take our future professional journey, it depends upon all of us, how we have charted it, how we, advance our skills, develop our skills, how we go about our journey. So this program only empowers us in a unique way, general way, and prepares us for the world, the new uncharted territories that we are looking forward to. And then it is up to us how we go about our journey. And, from my own experience, just one term down in our PGPMAX program, but I know it's a very intensive program, very demanding program. And even when you're not on the campus, there's so much of reading, so much of work to be done. So I would just like to know from all of you, it's difficult to strike the balance between your personal, professional, and when you're studying also, there are these three very, very demanding areas: work, your family, and then the course, which is so intensive with so many deadlines and things. How did you all manage that? I would like to begin with Arup.
So there is a warning. It is not an easy course. And I'm Batsala, first time you already probably have already realized that. So you need to prepare for it. see at the day end when you are doing for your career, right? So you need to prepare for it. So I had been fortunate that I had been a very supportive family as well as my company. So we was able to kind of juggle between these two, but there were many times where I felt a little stretched, but still managed. But probably I'll end with one of the story, right? Say that I read and which kind of helped me to get through this is that if you really want to cross a barrier, you throw your hat across the barrier, then you don't have a choice. So once you jump into the water, you will learn swimming. So you will not believe that we do. We realize that after 16 months, when we finish the course, we're all kind of discussing, and then somebody first said that now all of you got 1 week in a month extra to do extra work. So the point is that there actually all of us, once you get into this, you should be able to manage it. It's not an easy course. There's no question about that. But if you do plan properly, you will be able to manage it.
Thank you, Aru. I would like to have Manish's thoughts on this.
Yeah. So I agree with Arup. I think this is not easy, right? So it is very intense, very intense. So let's everyone should acknowledge that, which is great, by the way, right? It is the learning of the management skills doesn't start after the course. The learning actually starts before that, when you have actually made the decision that this is what I really want to do, because that's when that's a real part of it, right? Because the moment you commit yourself for doing something of this sort, somehow, you are again trying to ensure that you have the right energy in your mind um, in order to make this happen, right? So I think that's where things have really started happening for you. You're already in that affirmative positive state that, hey, I really want to do this, right? So, and unless you are in that state of mind, you will not be able to do it, right? So the moment you commit yourself that you really want to do this, you will find that whatever energy it takes in order to, navigate you through this commitment, I would say. So it's an intense course. How do you find energy is something which, when you are very serious about making it happen, you will find energy to make it happen, right? To be honest with you, in my personal case, I was, I'm in a consulting world. I do travel a lot, and that was the era before COVID. I used to do like 3 weeks in London and maybe 1 week in Pune, and it was very difficult for me to get this additional variant of my schedule sorted out at that point of time. But as I said, once you give your commitment, you somehow tend to, all of your amateur management skills will come into play in order to make things happen, right? So you don't worry about it, how it's going to happen. It's just going to happen, right? But don't underestimate that part, because that's essentially what you're learning, right? That the journey of the PGP Max won't start after you get into it. It's the journey which has already started, how your mind is rewiring you in order to make things happen, right? And that's a learning, right? I just feel that one has to be cognizant of that and enjoy that, I feel, right? Because that's where things have really started happening for you, right? The second thing is, uh, the, I don't think you'll be able to do all of it. The course is very intense, right? And maybe there are 20 things to be done, but don't overthink about, oh, I don't understand this. I don't understand stats. This is a completely over my head. When this professor is talking about, the betas of finance world, I don't get this, right? Don't worry about it, right? It doesn't matter, as long as your mind has registered that there is something to do with this particular concept, right? And how do I make use of that in order to solve some problem, right? That's good enough for you, right? Then you'll find the people to make it happen. So I guess, how do you organize the knowledge in your mind so that it opens up at the right time? As long as you're able to do that, that's good enough, I would say, right? But as I said, it's very important to commit yourself in the mind so that you find the right energy to get you through this course, because it is very intense, right? So that really needs to happen, I would say. Yeah.
Shelja, I would like to know how you balance the work, family, and study in such intensive course.
It so happened I enrolled onto the course at the peak of COVID, assuming that this era is going to continue. And, I thought, okay, this is the best time. I was also leading one of the roles, which was more of my comfort zone. And then when I started the courses, when I got this new offer of a new role within the organization, which was completely the new business line, where we were all going out and then trying to sell a whole lot of cloud. So I couldn't say no. So that's the time I started this course. So the first few months was extremely challenging for me. One is about, kind of, there was a whole lot of learning in my new role, as well as learning that I had to do here. Balancing that was a bit of a challenge. But the beauty of this course is your cohort. So, invariably, whatever it is, that 1 week you go there, it's a magic, I feel. Because there is a whole set of people who just bring in that energy, who just motivate and encourage you. And you automatically get into the groove of those learning, right? So I did actually balance my job as well. So many times, I would actually be on calls, between the breaks and things of that sort. Most important thing for anybody to be successful doing this course is the support from the family and the support from your organization. So in my case, I'm very, very fortunate to have those two. That 1 week, people really tried not to disturb me unless there was something that was really burning, right? So that really helps. And then, as I said, the cohort itself actually helps you a lot to come up. The third one is, as Manish said, you can't be the master on every subject there. So maybe you feel that you probably got 50-60% of certain subjects, so in certain terms, but then you become the superstar in few other terms, right? So the 24 subjects that we learn, or the 12 terms that we are in, there's always this balancing that you do, and you start realizing where your strength is as well, right? And many of the courses actually surprise you. Many of the courses you may not even know anything. So for example, marketing for me was a different ball game, but I thoroughly enjoyed that course. I thoroughly really could actually relate what marketing in an organization means, right? So these are these new experiences and surprises that the course throws at you, and that automatically puts everything in place. The fourth most important thing I feel is, this is true to any MBA course, this really teach you to lead a disciplined life. This really helps you to further refine your time management skills, right? So that will be a biggest takeaway, right? So in a nutshell, yes, it is intense, but it is thoroughly enjoyable because of ISB and the set of people that you kind of probably be with. And the third most important thing is about the support you get and bringing in the discipline.
Thank you, Shelja. I think so. Everyone who's attending the session today will get an idea of what it's like to be part of the PGPMAX, the support system, the structure of the program, the challenges, the learning, and how life moves on from there, with all that we get from our program and how we use it in our life later on, and how we benefit and how we enrich our life. There are a few questions from the attendees that I would like to request you all to. There's one question just related to our last question. All of us know, we all know that there's a lot of different courses, different programs, different subjects that we learn. And like you all rightly said, we can't be master of all. And the very first session that the dean addresses us, he says, my grades don't matter, which to a certain extent is true. The learning is more important than the grade. And the grades do matter to a certain extent for all of us. That's what we are here to strive for excellence and to learn to the best of our ability. Now, one question that I have from Ashwini is that, the challenges are, we have a lot of reading to do, we have a lot of case studies and a lot of work there. So he wants to know that how to strike the balance with the reading and retaining with the expanse of the reading involved. I would request Arup to answer this.
Yes, so probably I'll one of the things that Shailaja and Manish both told, I was talking about that. See, management is also about prioritizing the thing as well as kind of how do you manage your time, right? So it is a way for you to learn how do you manage your time and how you'll kind of give priorities the right thing. So when you read and write, say for example, everybody has a, I had my way to kind of, I always used to take a lot of notes in the class, and then also there will be a lot of peer discussions happens, so you will see the group discussion happens, and that actually helped us to understand the concept much better than the doing the only the reading. So all the kind of discussion, all the kind of case studies we used to do together, right? So that helped us to kind of understand the concept the better. See, it is not about just mugging the documents and then go and just give the answer to the question there. It is more about understanding the concepts, and that happens the way the program is structured. It will happen automatically. You will learn with from the peer, you will learn from the professor as well in the through the discussion. So don't worry about that reading everything, just prioritize what you need to kind of learn, and then just focus on what you have want to gain from that.
Thank you, Arup. I do agree with that. Taking notes and the group discussions, that's very enriching. And that is what is the real takeaway from all the texts. We are not there to, memorize every aspect of the text provided, but to learn from those things which are important and to apply them to our own individual, unique backgrounds and our workplaces. So, from Manish, I would like to know when you decided to go for PGPMAX, and of course, when you're working, you need to speak to your employers about the program. And how did you take your conversation with the employers to take time off to upskill yourself?
Yeah, it's not an easy conversation, especially when you are in a very active role with a lot of clients looking forward for your services, right? So it's not easy, right? And your bosses, you don't really want to let go of you in a good sense. I'm saying because there's already there are numbers associated with it, right? And the moment you are off, it just creates a vacuum, and it's not easy for someone to fill that up. So it's not an easy conversation to have. I guess my strategy there was how do I still ensure that I continue delivering to my responsibilities, and at the same time, try and carve out some space for myself, uh, for my own learning, for my own um enrichment, I would say, right? So I think that's what I was trying to. That was my primary strategy to try and convince the leadership team also. Second thing is how do I bring in the outside in learning to the organization from day one also, right? So I think that's another theme in your business case where you can talk about how your presence with the wider cohort, right, would help you to bring in the knowledge and how that can immediately be applied in order to for the benefit of the organization, I would say, right? So that's another theme that I leveraged and uh, it did help, I would say. The third thing is uh, again at the completion of the course, right? Again, there has to be a business case, and I'm talking real tangible stuff here, right? Not about what is the benefit for me, right? So that could become very subjective, but there has to be a clear case that once I finish this particular course, how what are the additional responsibilities I could take up? How do I see myself over the course of 3 to 5 years, right? How do I don't know, maybe build a P&L of X million, for example, right? And how this course is really going to prepare me for that. I guess that's a real, there's real thinking that needs to go into it. And then a case has to be created with which will then trickle down to numbers, I would say, right? Numbers and how I would then achieve that. All of those things have really happened, right? Now, in some cases, it could be the organization that sponsors the candidate. In certain cases, you would want yourself to do it because it's sort of an enrichment for you, and you don't want to give a sort of a commitment to your incumbent organization. in which case the candidate would want to just not take any sponsorship from their current organization also, right? So it's an individual call, I would say. Um, but I think the business case in order to have the discussion with the organization would remain on those lines, I would say. Yeah.
Thank you, Manish. I think so. It's quite a bit challenge, when you're working and then you try to take up such a challenging course. For me personally, I decided to take time off to pursue the course, and I think I feel really happy that I took that decision, because otherwise you're just pressed between the two things, and it is everyone's personal call as per their own situation and circumstances. But I feel I've done the right thing to take time off. Otherwise, it would have been just, being pulled in two different directions, too demanding, and not enjoying either of that, So for each their own. But yeah, thank you so much for your views on that. With Sheldon, I would like to ask you something, particular to with the females in mind, what do you think is the most significant barrier to female leadership, and how does PGPMAX help to overcome it?
So it's a very difficult question for somebody like me to answer, to be honest, right? So I don't believe that there is barrier for female. It's all in our mind. So just about getting that through is what is important, right? So, when you're actually in PGPMAX, one of the good things that you start learning is this, at least in our batch, we call ourselves 17% of, the cohort. So the group name itself is still that, right? So, but we ended up being 19%, right? It was a significant number. And each one of us came with a whole lot of strengths, and each one of us came with a whole lot of aspirations. Each one of us have clarity in our mind in terms of where we need to actually head to and then get to, right? So even if you have any barriers, you do actually look at your other female, friends as well as the cohort members, and you end up actually trying to start elevating your own thinking to say that, oh, they've been able to sail through certain things, why not me? And then that really helps you to actually take your thinking to the next level. Trust me, I did not have any barriers. Whether it is about work or as well as at home, it has always been encouraging for me. And I do believe it's all about us actually believing that there are no barriers and we should go all out and then try, right? Course by itself, as I said, it's more to do with all the participants that make you feel equal, and that really might actually take any barriers that you may have in your mind. So that's how I would put it across as.
I agree with you. I also believe that, gender has no role to play. It's, I think so. All of us, we bring different mindsets, different experiences on the table, and what we do in our professional field, I think gender has nothing to do with that. But yes, I think so. Everyone needs that kind of clarity to understand this. Right? There's another question from one of our attendees here, Mr. Amit Raj. I would request Arup to answer that. Amit Raj wants to know how crucial would the organization support be in pursuing this program?
It is very, very crucial. And to some extent, why I'll say to some extent, we also play the role to that. See, at the day end, we are responsible for getting our job done, right? So one of the things, say, for example, before I went and spoke to my boss, one of the thing I created my second level more comfortable running the business. So even if I'm away, then they are able to still run the business. So there's no impact on the business. I still used to join the calls in the evening or early morning, etc. So then, as Manish was talking about the business case, right? So my business case was very strong, saying that, see, I have built a second level, and I kind of proved to my boss and leadership that, see, they are able to run the business without me being there. So that is something probably all of you should think about. You cannot drop your day-to-day job and suddenly vanish from the work, right? Unless you have a make support mechanism in place. So I'll suggest work on that from that perspective. It might be a little challenging if you are an individual contributor, but when you are managing a team or something, then you can always kind of do this thing. And when you go to the PGPMAX, actually you learn about the delegating and building the second level and making yourself redundant, right? So that starts actually even before you start the course. So that will be my suggestion.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Manish, I would like to know from you, there's a required years of experience to apply for the PGPMAX program. And generally, people feel that with so many years of putting into your work, into your professional life, is it really required to go in for some additional course in order to progress in your professional field? I would request you to share your thoughts on this.
Yeah. So my views are as follows. If you are doing well in your current profession, whatever it is, right? Whether it is a business, whether you're working for some organization, right? And if you still have a outlook for what needs to be achieved for your own progress over the course of next 10 years, perhaps you don't need this, right? It is not true with everyone, I would say, right? If that's one case, the second case could be if someone wants to make a switch, they're not just passionate enough in terms of what they have been doing for the last 10, 15, 20 years of their life, and they still feel that there has to be something else which is going on in their mind, hey, this is just one life, right? So I just feel that it makes sense for you to try that out, but just going out in the market and starting without any knowledge of how to make it happen could be a bit risky proposition. I feel that coming onto this kind of a platform, PGPMAX, understanding uh, your story vis-a-vis stories of other people who are also trying to do something similar, gives you a bit of a comfort, confidence. Maybe you end up finding a co-founder also, right? You never know, right? So I just feel that this is a good platform to collaborate, understand the ideas. And if you have an idea in your mind in terms of what you want to do over the course of next 2, 3, 5, 10 years, this can be a place to find the right people, the right relationship, and also enrich yourself in areas that you have not had an opportunity to work over the past in your legacy, I would say, right? So this is the platform to do that. So all in all, I don't think if the question is more about what should be the minimum number of years before one should get into this kind of course, I don't think the answer would be a bit subjective. It's more of a what is your frame of mind at this stage, where you want to go, and is there a support system that you need in order to uh, reach what you have set yourself to achieve, I would say, right? This would, especially in the business world, this could be a good Chandrayaan to do that. Let's put it that way. Yeah.
Thank you. Chandrayaan, and then preparing for the Aditya, launching for the solar. Yeah. So, Arup, from you, I would like to know, how can the PGPMAX program accelerate the progression of an entrepreneur?
That's a wonderful question. So basically, what happened? I'll probably talk about my batch. We had quite a few entrepreneurs as a part of the group. So while we are doing the course of entrepreneurship and all this thing, part of this, we had to learn learn to work, learn to kind of from their side, as well as it also opened up our mind that certain challenges we can take there, right? So basically, what happens is that many times we put our boundaries. Can I be an entrepreneur? And then when we started learning that how the entrepreneurship courses we went through, and then you go work with many of the entrepreneurs who are your classmates and the people who was brought in by an ISB to present in front of us, you see they are exactly similar to you, right? There's no difference between you and the people who are kind of running your successful entrepreneurship initiatives. So that is one dimension. It gives you the courage to take the leap. And believe me, at least 30% of my classmates started their own ventures after leaving their job after the course. So I'm just giving a rough figure there. The other aspect is that when you are entrepreneur, you also need to look into the business at the 360 view, right? You have to look into the finance, you have to look into the marketing, you have to look into all other dimension, right? It's not about the technology or what you are good at. It gives you that perspective. So that way you will also be very this is very helpful for you to get that perspective. And third element is that you will, in your network, you will have probably quite a few entrepreneurs who has been successful, have failed, and then again restarted the business, another initiative. You can actually talk to them and learn what are the mistakes not to do. So I'll say this is probably the phenomenal course that I have seen, and I've seen people actually changing their life after completing the course and starting their own businesses.
Thank you, Arup. From Shelja, I have the next question for you, Shelja. What makes the growth rate fasten up after MBA while the nature of the job remains the same? One of the attendees wanted to know.
So I think we all have been speaking about it through all the things that we've been saying, right? I did speak about the foundation and then exponential growth that you start seeing in the years, right? So it's never going to be the immediate change that's going to happen. It's not that I get out of the course and I apply and I become a CEO. That's not the point, right? So it just changes the way you are going to operate. It's, let's say that you are in the same role. It changes the way you make the decisions. That changes the way you elevate your conversations. Changes the way you look for the solutions, changes the way you actually create or develop a relationship at a very, very deep and strong levels within the organizations, right? And those are the, again, we kept talking about intangible benefits. So a multiplier effect that it has on your career, right? So when you start actually demonstrating all this in your current role, let's say that when you started the program and you were in a certain role, and then through the course of the program, you continue to be in that role, you can start evaluating yourself in terms of, did you really see those changes in terms of what you're working on? And then you can always take the feedback from your own organizations, which seldom happens, at least with me, that a lot of people have told me in terms of the changes that they see. So that I would say is what you will start seeing in terms of elevating yourself. Let's say Manish was talking about, if you are an SME, you're talking like an SME, to now you kind of all start talking like a C-suite, right? It's not about talking, it's about your thinking. Since you're thinking that way, you're actually speaking that language, right? So that's the change that you will start seeing in yourself.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Shilja. My last question to all three of you would be, how is PGPMAX perceived by the industry and company? When we move out, we'll begin with you, Manish.
So ISB certainly has a very, very, very high brand value, right? PGPMAX is an equivalent, if not higher, I would say, vehicle to that of the other one, the PGP, the main for the full-time one. I don't remember the name of that. But I think it is at par, or maybe has a higher brand value, or the way the organizations outside in the marketplace perceive PGP Max, I would say, as part of ISB. So ISB itself plays its magic, but PGP Max, I guess there's a lot of appreciation in the marketplace that this is a set of senior folks, right, who are now ready for shouldering larger responsibilities, right? So the market is open with that thought process, right? And when you are applying in the marketplace, that perseverance is already there in the market. That's how the market would perceive you, right? So it is very high, by the way, right? People are aware of that, and that perception in the marketplace is one thing of the story. Going back to the point which Shalija was mentioning, it's about your mindset also, right? It's about the acceptability in your own mind, out of all the, I don't want to use the word insecurity, but I can't find any other better word. Insecurities of not having done an MBA or higher education as far as the business world is concerned, right? Because you come from a particular domain, you've had a particular education, right? And that that has taken to a particular level, which is great, by the way, right? But if I think there's an angle of, there's a dimension of knowing things beyond your own uh, expertise domain, I would say, right? And that this course, this kind of a course like PGPMAX just opens up so many other categories, right? That you are at least able to appreciate all of those, if not become an expert in all of those areas, and ensure that, as I said, you will be able to pick and make a proposition while you are discussion with any of the clients, that you yourself become ambassador for PGPMAX, right? So when you are talking, people would probably go and look at your profile in LinkedIn, figure out, oh, this guy or this person is from ISB, they have done PGPMAX. So I guess you yourself tend to promote your own self, and therefore the the brand, and vice versa, right? ISP is also doing that at the organization level. So I think this is a win-win combination, I would say, and it's just growing leaps and bounds every year, I would say.
Thank you, Manish. I'm beginning to see that what you're saying, it gives you a very progressive mindset. It really opens up our thinking and our venues to a better world. Arup, I would like your thoughts on this. How is PGPMAX and ISB perceived in the company?
So what I have seen, that when we started, we were probably third batch or so. PGPMAX was not so well known, right? But ISB is a very well known brand. So but what happened that when you go back, and as the time, if you look at over the many years, many of their alumni, like say Shailaja or Manish, all of these people are coming out, right? So what is happening? You'll see a lot of people and senior leadership roles across the organization. So that kind of changes the perception over the year. I have seen that happening with my organization as well. And you will see now there's a much better match brand recognition of the PGPMAX. And of course, ISB is a very strong brand. There's no question about that. But PGPMAX itself, there is a good brand recognition where people actually asked me, oh, you did PGPMAX? I was trying for this. Something like that. That kind of thing happened. So to summarize, you will see that this brand is evolving like any other product, and you will see a lot of leaders in the different companies, and people have started recognize PGPM as a very strong brand compared to many other programs.
Thank you, Arup. I agree with that. It gives you the confidence and gives you that kind of edge, where you feel that you have been given the best of the opportunity and the platform to grow into whatever you want to aspire for your future, for your professional growth, for your personal growth. It's the best platform. Shelja, would like to hear from you now.
So I want to say ditto, right? So I can't agree more. So ISB by itself is a brand, and the program, it didn't bother me in terms of PGPMAX or otherwise. PGPMAX primarily, that was an attraction for me, primarily because of the profile of the candidates that come in, right? For me, it was more than learning from ISB. It was about learning from the cohort, and I think that's the biggest advantage. And together, it kind of works brilliantly for anybody. Just to give you a recent, example. So I have this new global boss. He came in, and then we were talking about something, and then I'm a Bangalorean, and then I started talking so much about Hyderabad, and he said, how come you know Hyderabad? So I said, no, I did this MBA from ISB, and then it was a wow, right? So for him, immediately, it's the way he was kind of structuring the conversation changed So I've seen many of such experiences that I've had. So definitely that kind of reiterates the fact that ISB is a brand, and it is a brand for a reason, and the brand is strengthening by the day, by every passing year. So that's what I feel and I believe in.
Thank you so much, Shelja. I do believe that it's a brand, and we have the opportunity to be a part of that brand. Makes us even more responsible, and for us to carry out our part in forwarding this brand and to make this brand even more creditable and more honorable in every aspect. We don't have any more questions from the attendees, but I would like to share with all three of you how I really enjoyed talking to you all. And this is the first time I am hosting something like this. When Smriti told me to co-host this, I was a little apprehensive. But like when I went to ISB the first day, just talking to everyone in a safe and healthy environment just breaks the ice. And then it's just that, comfortable and easy conversation and learning from each other. So thank you so much, Arup. Thank you, Manish, and thank you, Shelja. I really, really enjoyed talking to you all, and it has made me really, really more comfortable, more confident, and more empowered, I would say. I'm looking forward to my journey at ISB and my life after ISB. And I know that I've connected with you all today, and this connection will remain for life with the alums. I'd like to connect with you again in future, maybe face-to-face sometime. And all of you have very busy and demanding professional lives. Still, you took out time for this session. Thank you so much, Arup. A pleasure talking to you. And thank you, Shelja. And thank you, Manish.
Likewise,
Smriti,
thank you so much, everyone.
Smriti, would you like to add?
Nothing, Vatsala. Thank you so much for stepping up on my behalf and taking this up today. And panelists, it was lovely to host you, and the session was really had a lot of insights for all the attendees, and I hope they had their questions answered. Have a nice weekend, all of you, and thank you so much again.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
All the
Thank
best,
you.
everyone.
Bye.
Have a good weekend.